Welcome to the Life Success and Legacy Podcast. We're glad you're here, and we hope you enjoy the episode.
Hey, everybody, we want to welcome you back to the next episode of the Life Success Legacy Podcast. I'm Chris Bay, and I'm joined by longtime friend Kish Rao. Kish, very good to see you, my friend.
Nice to see you, Chris. It's been a while.
It has been a while. So, Kish, we met back, I'm thinking it was back like 2017, 2018, somewhere around in there. That sound about right?
17.
17? Okay.
Yes.
And we met in Philadelphia. So for our listeners, just to give some context, Kish is a longtime friend. He's been a client. He is an associate coach. And our lives have kind of intersected over the years, but primarily from a distance. Kish lives up in the Philadelphia area, and we'll give him a chance to share a little bit about himself, his family, the work he does, his passions, those kinds of things. But yeah, we met back in around 2017 in Philadelphia. Our team was actually going up there to do a live boot camp, and somehow you walked into the room, right?
I did.
So tell us a little bit about how you learned about IBC and how you ended up walking into the room for that boot camp.
Sure. So I learned about IBC through my wife. She didn't know anything about IBC either, which is why she said, Kishore, find out about IBC. I'm like, what's that? She's like, I don't know. Sounds something about infinite banking. So I said, okay, it sounds a little kludgy, but no problem. I can look into it. And so I started doing some research. This was maybe about a month before I met you guys. And started doing some research, found some videos, found some websites. And then I came across this group that was going to be doing a live boot camp, outside Philadelphia. I'm like, oh, and this is coming up in 2 weeks. So maybe I should register and just check it out. I checked the dates, I was available, and my wife just said, go for it. So I signed up and I went over Friday night, I think Friday afternoon, evening. I came down and I got a chance to meet you and your team at the time. That was my introduction. At that point, did I know what IBC was? No, not really. I mean, just from what I read, I did not buy the book or anything at that point. But that's when I showed up, and Chris, I got a chance to meet you, got a chance to meet Mike and the rest of the team at that point.
Yeah, that was fun. And unusual, because typically when people show up in the room for the boot camp, we know them, we know of them, they are a referral from somebody, they're a friend of somebody, but we had no contact with you prior. And then all of a sudden here you are and you walk in. What do you think it was? How did Vidya come across, your wife Vidya? How did she come across this infinite banking? Is that
Well,
typical of her to be researching things like that?
she was just looking, I mean, I guess she finished reading or she was looking at Robert Kiyosaki's his book and all about cash flow and just, things in that genre, was just showing up in our YouTube feeds, and somehow IBC showed up. And she had no idea what it was, and she was busy with her stuff. So she just asked me, if you could figure out what this is. And I said, sure.
Sure.
I asked her for contacts, and she told me exactly what I just told you.
Yeah.
And that's all she knew. That's all I knew. And we started from there. Definitely, it was unknown territory for me. I've never heard of it before. None of my friends have ever heard of it before. I'm scratching my head like, what is this? But I figured, you know what? There's a webinar, not a webinar, boot camp coming up, and worst case scenario, I get a free lunch or a free dinner out of it. So, how can I go wrong? It's a win-win.
That's right. So you mentioned your wife, Vidya, who I adore, and
Thank
then you have 2 daughters. Tell us a little bit about your family and what life looks like for you guys right now, so our listeners can get to know you on a personal level.
Sure. So I've got 2 daughters right now. One is 13 years old. She's in middle school. and one is 16, a junior in high school. And they are absolutely keeping my hands full right now. So it is, it's a pleasure to have them, and I'm grateful for every single day I get to see them and hug them.
Mhm.
And I just want the best lives for them. So everything I'm doing uh, truly is for my children.
Yeah.
And, my wife, she is a pharmacist. She is a part-time pharmacist, but she works long hours. She works for a number of different pharmacies. So she's keeping busy.
Mhm.
And but that's really not what she wants to do. She wants to spend time with the family. She wants to spend time at home,
Yeah.
just grow as a family together and not just, you know, slaving away for a paycheck. So
Right.
it's a
Now, your
problem.
family just recently, you guys kind of divided for a couple of trips. For our listeners, where did your family get to travel?
So my daughter ended up going to France, my older one.
Hmm.
She had a school trip, and my wife wanted to tag along. She's never been there. So I said, great, go enjoy. I think that'd be an awesome opportunity. So both of them went. And then my younger daughter came to me and says, okay, Dad, where are we going to go?
Where are we going, Dad?
And I never really thought about it. So we ended up taking the trip down to Washington, D.C.
Mm,
We got to see the remnants of the cherry blossoms, but
yeah.
it was still a great vacation for
Hmm.
all four of us, even though we were separated. So I got to spend good quality time with my younger daughter. We got to tour around DC area, and she had a good time, and I had a great time, did a lot of walking. At the same time, my wife and older daughter, was in Paris. They were seeing, Champs-Élysées. They were seeing the Eiffel
Mm,
Tower. My daughter was in the music, she's in the band, so she was playing in a concert there.
right.
So, it was great. I mean, it wasn't all together, but we all mutually still had a great time.
Those experiences are fantastic. I remember we got the four of us got to take a trip to DC, and that's still to this day is one of the trips that our kids talk about. And yes, we did a lot of walking. We were exhausted, but there's so many great things to see in that area with the Smithsonian's and all that.
Oh, absolutely. I definitely recommend anyone to go there. So it's fun.
So your oldest daughter, Priya, right?
Yes,
Yeah, Priya is a junior in high school, so that's the same age as Mike and Pay's daughter. And I know they have been very busy with college visits. You're in that season as well, I take it?
we are. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're starting well, we already started last year, I think. We started seeing some colleges prematurely, but that's okay. Just one college in particular, it was 15 minutes from our house.
Mm,
So we went there a couple of times. My daughter likes it a lot, but we decided let's check out some other colleges. So we're starting to do that as well, just to see
cool.
colleges in the area within like an hour, 2 hours from where
Mhm,
we live. She's not interested in going any further out, which
mm.
is a blessing in my mind.
Yeah.
So I like to keep my kids close by.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's go back to when you first were learning about infinite banking. And how you got started. Did you have any skepticism or resistance when you first started learning about infinite banking?
I think they're two separate things. There was no resistance, but there was a lot of skepticism
Hmm.
because is this really real? Does this really work? If this is so true, how come not everybody does this? Just so many questions in my head. But I decided to move forward because you know, I think you'll remember this was a 2-day boot camp. And after day one, I think you said at the end of the day, go through our notes, send us any questions and we can address them tomorrow in the Q&A. So I think I listed about 10, 20 questions for you guys. And then
You still have those questions, don't
I
you?
do have them on my laptop. I can forward them to you if you like me to. Happy to. And, when I came in the next morning, lo and behold, you had my questions on the slide projector, and that's how you guys started out. And since then, I kept asking questions. You guys kept diligently answering them. Some questions were redundant,
Mhm.
but you guys were very patient. You kept answering them. I think this went on for about 4 or 5 months. Now, keep in mind, I did not have any other friends, any other colleagues, family members, anybody that's heard about this, let alone do it.
Right.
So, I only had you guys and the book.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, I felt comfortable because you guys kept answering my questions. There was never any, do you want to buy? Are you interested in signing up? Nothing like that. So I felt that vibe. I felt good about that. So I decided let's move forward. And I think that time it was April timeframe.
Yeah.
That it was March, where you guys came down to Philadelphia again, and I had a check for you for my first two policies, and I was very hesitant to hand it over because I'm thinking, this is a new chapter in my life. Hopefully, it's the right move for me. And looking back, it is absolutely the best move I've ever done in my life.
Mm. So originally, when you were thinking about this, when we talk about with folks, we say it's helpful to us, one, to know how to teach the concept. We can narrow it down specifically to what's important to them. But when we talk about the four things that IBC does, eliminating outside debt, and I'm curious for you, back when you first started, what was that priority that was most important? Was it eliminating outside debt? Was it building a pool of cash that you could use to finance things in your life? Was it about passive income, or was it about the tax-free wealth transfer or the death benefit? Back when you first were interested in learning about it, what was the priority?
Priority was probably building passive income
Mm,
and building wealth. And the reason why was I was working really hard on my job, and I'm pretty good at what I do. I'm in the tech field,
mhm.
but I didn't feel like I was getting anywhere. And I had to do something different. And I was trying to figure out what can I do that's different. And I tried real estate. At the time, I tried one aspect of real estate, and it was a fabulous fail for me. So it didn't work at all. And then I was thinking, what else is there? So that's when I came across IBC, through my wife, did my research. And I remember having a conversation, you know what, let me just, take the leap of faith and see where it takes me. I did my research, I did my due diligence to the best of my ability back then. And I pray that this is the right move for me. And it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was about building passive income, building wealth, but building wealth in a way that I don't need to put obscene amount of more hours in.
There's a gentleman that we work with, Corey Shear, I'll name drop here. Corey Shear has a business called Trust Centric, and we've done some work with him as a consultant for us. And we had a discussion about wealth, and this definition really sticks with me. He defines wealth as having options. And when you really think about that, like poverty is when you're running out of options, right? So a lot of people think about wealth, it's like, oh, I'm accumulating this money, these assets, etc. But really what it is it's about having options in life, whether that's for ourselves or for our kids, our families, etc. Have you seen, Kish, that priority of passive income and building wealth? Have you seen that priority shift for you? And have other things become more important, or has it continued to be, are you still like a dog on a bone? Are you still after that building that passive income? Where are you in that journey?
So I really love passive income. And ever since then, I slowly started finding other masterminds that I joined and other ways to start building passive income. And it's been working out well for me. But a
Mm-hmm.
lot of it has to do with the mindset. Once I
Yeah.
saw infinite banking uh, working in my favor, and that's when my mindset started shifting, started changing. And then passive income just started flowing to me, which I think is great because before that, nothing was working, nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now things are different. I do attest everything to infinite banking because that changed my mindset. Once my mindset changed, then the world opened up. But passive income, I mean, you said something earlier about options,
Mm-hmm.
and I took this test about 6, 7 years ago, and it was just 7 layers deep. I think we may have talked about this in the past, Chris.
Yes, yes.
But when I took the 7 layers deep question, like, why are you doing this? Why am I working? Why am I looking at this? So on and so forth. It all came down to this. I want options.
Mm.
I want to make sure I have the options for my children. It's not about the money. It's not about how much I'm getting. It's not about my bank account. It's not about IBC. It's about making sure that my children have options.
Yeah.
And if I have that, I'm golden. I'm good. And
We talk a
everything.
lot about, life success and legacy. It's about helping people create the lives they want.
Mhm.
And typically there is a financial element to that process. And so, oh yeah, by the way, we teach this infinite banking thing, but really it is about helping people create the lives they want, which includes options, just like you described. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. For our listeners, can you give just some, like, over time, what are some different ways that you have used your policy to finance different things? And then and what I'd love for you to start talking about is some of the things that you've used your policy towards this passive income piece. But early on, what are some of the examples? Like, what were some of your first loans that you took against your policy? What did you use them for? Those kinds of things. And now what has that developed into?
Sure. So when I first started, I wasn't thinking investing. It was just purely setting up infinite banking, a place to store my money and let it grow, let it compound. And I can still borrow from it and it would still continue to compound. So that's what I did. I borrowed from it and used it to take care of some home improvements. So I did it for home improvements. That was one big thing. We bought a car
Mhm.
using the money. And I even set up like an amortization schedule and started paying it back, like
Of
a
course you did,
good
Kish.
person is supposed to do.
You're a good, honest banker.
And what was the third thing I did? Oh yeah, this was a big one. I used it to pay taxes.
Yes. That actually is one of my favorite ones, actually, because I get 3 uses of my tax dollars. I love that.
So yeah, that was one of the biggest ones. But then afterwards, I realized that, this is all great and
Hmm.
it's really helping me out because I had a store of money I can pull and use from and I can pay it back. But what happens if I take that money and invest it into this thing and then I get that money back and I use that money to pay back that loan. And meanwhile, the money I borrowed from my policy is still continuing to grow. Plus, the investment is growing.
Hmm.
It's giving me back returns. It's like double dipping almost. It's like cheating, but
Yeah.
legally.
Right.
And I realized it's diesel fuel for me. And it's awesome. And I love it. So, and that was my next thing. So I did a multifamily syndication. So I'm really big into investing in apartments.
Hmm.
As a passive investor, I'm switching over to active, but right now I'm passive. And I did a passive investment, pulling $50,000 from that. And it was great because I was able to pull the money out, but the money was still growing in my account as if I never pulled the money out. Plus, I was using that money to help, the multifamily investment.
Hmm.
And it was growing there as well. So, you know, it's a win-win,
Yeah.
depending on how you look at it, no matter how you look at
Kish, I experience you as being very interested in building community and sharing ideas. And when we had a live boot camp down in Houston, you were there, right? I experience you as really not only looking for those opportunities to connect with people, but also creating those opportunities for people to connect. Can you talk just a little bit about the different groups that you've been a part of, and then even some of the groups that you have actually initiated
Sure.
to share ideas?
So yeah, there's another group that I'm part of called TARDIS, which I joined about 2.5, 3 years ago. I heard about it maybe about 3.5, 4 years ago,
Hmm.
and through another IBC um, agent, Mike Kwong,
Yeah.
and he told me about. We spoke. He told me about TARDIS. He told me how it worked. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. So I followed his journey for about a year then. a year later, we were talking, and he was telling me some of the big moves he's making, and that kind of opened my eyes. So I reached back out to TARDIS, and I ended up signing up. This was back in 2021, I believe.
Hmm.
And I signed up. I started my first flip back in October, and I've been flipping since.
Cartwheels.
And it's been going very, very well for me. But not just that. Due to that, I was able to join the community of TARDIS members, and I got to meet them and learn what these people are doing. And I got to meet some people live in person, some people that lives close to me, some a little bit further away. When I came down to Houston, I got to meet a lot of them there as well.
Hmm.
So I got to meet people, which is what I love doing.
Yeah. And then you've also started some groups for learning and sharing ideas as well. Isn't that true with some of the real estate investments?
Absolutely. So like I said, I do multifamily investing, I do single family investing, I've done private money lending in the past as well. And I had to learn all this stuff the hard way, meaning I had to go reach out to people and just tell them who I am and just go through that process. And I went through it and I was able to succeed in all that, which I'm happy about. Then I was thinking, how can I share this and how can I pay it forward? So at work, where I work, I started a club, and in my club, I have successful entrepreneurs, businessmen, CEOs come in and they talk about a particular niche in real estate, in alternative assets, in making passive income, building generational wealth. So my club is slightly different where I bring these people in. It's all virtual. They come in and meet with my group twice a month, and we talk about a particular asset class, or we talk about a particular strategy, and people get to learn. And most of these people that attend are W-2 employees who are in the tech field that may only think that the way to make money outside work is buying rental property and managing it themselves, and it's a very active process. And that's not the case. So I want to make an impact. So that's what I started. This was 2.5 years ago, and it's been great. I have over 1,000 members in my club. I've had about 50 or so people speak in my club, and it's still growing. I actually opened it up to the outside maybe about 4 or 5 months ago, and more people are joining. So which is great. I just want to make an impact and
Hmm.
help people and give back as much as possible.
If we have listeners right now that something that you shared about your club sparked interest to them, how would they go about reaching out to you or participating in your club?
So best way is to reach out to me directly first.
Okay.
And it's a very simple URL, www.meetwithkish.com.
Okay.
So just go there, set up a call with me, and
Mhm.
we'll have a quick 20-minute conversation, and then we'll go from there. So just like you guys, I like to get to know people,
Mhm.
find out who they are, what they're trying to accomplish, and see what I can do to help them.
And is there a fee to be a part of the club?
Absolutely. You have to share it with people. And outside that, there's nothing else. So, and the purpose of that is I just want people to know about it.
Yeah, yeah.
I hear so many people like they talk about, oh, how do I get into this? How do I learn about note investing? I'm like, well, if you join my club, I have 3 people that talked about different ways of note investing.
Mhm.
Or how do I hear about IBT? I have 3 or 4 people talking about that. How do I hear about single family or multifamily? I've had, CEOs, I've had people talk about how to do that.
Yeah.
So, so it's just, like I said, it's just a way of giving back. And when people ask me, how can I support you, Kish? I say, well, just share my club to your friends and family and let
Mhm.
them benefit. So that's it.
Cool. That's cool.
That's it.
Kish, we had the opportunity to hang out in the flesh recently. We were out in the Vegas area at the Nelson Nash Institute think tank, and that was super fun just to get to spend a couple days together. For our listeners, I'm curious, what would be maybe two or three of your takeaways, or what was your experience like? This was your first think tank attending, I believe. What was that experience like for you? What were some of your takeaways?
That was an amazing experience. When I got there, I felt so intimidated by seeing all these people, all these faces where I recognized on YouTube or on websites. And I'm thinking, wow, I've listened to this person, I've listened to her, and I'm thinking, I'm so little in this, in this vast ocean. But it was amazing. And it was just, the presentations that were given about how people are using infinite banking and so many benefits and how how the outreach is. But listen, the other aspect of it too is how many scammers are out there, how many
Mm,
people are trying to sell products that aren't really, IBC. Even in my clubs, people have talked to me saying, yes, I'm using this.
mhm.
Isn't that IBC? I'm like, not exactly, you know. And that's when I, explain to them, how it works, in the purest form. So, and going to the think tank actually opened my eyes on how to explain this a little bit better,
Mm,
who to talk to. And the best part is everybody was approachable.
yeah.
I could go up to somebody and say, hi, my name is Kish. I work with, Mike Everett and Chris Bay and their team, and it's my first think tank. And they just welcome me on board. They tell me who they are, where they're from, and they ask, and we build that rapport, and it was fantastic. And I absolutely love that. And I hope to get invited next year and the year after and the year after. So
Yeah. Yeah. I've been attending since I think about 2012. And I always walk away with great information and further deepening friendships. It's just a really fantastic opportunity with like-minded people to come together and share and encourage and all those. So, yeah, it was a great opportunity. So I was glad to be there with you. A lot of fun.
and I was glad to be invited. I was so happy to be there. One of the best conferences I've been ever.
Yeah. Okay, I'm looking at my notes, Kish. Is there anything that we have not touched on that you wanted to make sure that we got to talk about before we wrap up this podcast?
Well, I'm looking at my notes right now. Looks like we covered most of it. I am extremely grateful for learning about IBC. And the one thing for me, I want to make it one step further. I wanted to start sharing this with other people.
Hmm.
When I started explaining it to other people, I sounded like a 5-year-old, which didn't really go so well. So I decided to become an associate agent. And when I reached out to you, Chris and Mike, you guys were, more than happy to bring me on as an associate. So I became a licensed agent last year. And my
Yay.
goal is to help people, basically focusing on education,
Hmm.
teach people how this works, how this benefited me, how it could potentially benefit you. And if there's an interest, we can take the conversation further. If not, then we're still friends.
That's
And I
right.
can help you in other ways, like in my club, through different passive investment opportunities.
Hmm.
So that's what I love doing. IBC is truly the back doing. And I just want to share this with everybody, just help other people out as well. So
And that's what we love about you, Kish, is that that's very much what we're about, right? Is sharing this information and getting the word out to as many people as possible. And so to our listeners, you know many of us on the team, but if there's something that resonates with you with Kish, and you're like, I like the way he describes this, I like what he's talking about. If you feel a connection with Kish, he's part of our LSL. He's an associate coach with LSL. Feel free to reach out to him. We don't care who you all reach out to. We just want you to get the kind of information and teaching that is beneficial for you. So Kish is a great, intelligent, kind, knowledgeable person to reach out to as well. So feel free to reach out to Kish. You can find his email on our website at lifesuccesslegacy.com as an associate coach. And then also, Kish, remind us if they're interested in your club, what is that URL they can reach out to?
just go connect with me at meetwithkish.com. It'll be in the show notes below, hopefully.
Yes. Yeah. I think Michael Crawford will get that included for sure. So
Excellent. Thank you.
Kish, what a joy getting to sit here and talk with you and relive your story and our introduction way back when. Thank you for taking time to share your story, your knowledge, and your experience with IBC. Really grateful and appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for having me. I appreciate that, Chris.
Absolutely. To our listeners, thank you for listening. We appreciate it. And join us again at our next episode of the Life Success Legacy podcast. Check out our website, lifesuccesslegacy.com. We have lots of learning opportunities, books, webinars, boot camps. You can register for any of those learning events, and we look forward to seeing you at our next one. Thanks again for joining us.